Good evening. Welcome to Soundtracks with Birdman. Another special Tuesday night feel-good Americana movie, Apollo 13, about America going to space. What's more aspirational than that? I can't think of anything. With me tonight, Jedi Master Zootopia and Troy Pacelli. How are you, gentlemen?
Hey,
I'm doing great. Looking forward to the movie. Looking forward to feeling good about America and just a good human story.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was ever since last week, ever since you brought it up, I've been thinking about it. I did confess, and I'll confess to the stream now. I've never seen this film, but it's not like I don't know the story. I know the history of this mission. I know a lot of the very technical details about it, but talk about inspiration. This idea of American teamwork. It literally was the guys in that capsule and the guys on the ground working together. I mean, pulling off, frankly, when you see it, it's a miracle. When you know the details of what went into it, you just rub your forehead and you go, oh God,
Yeah, I think that this is how when something is going wrong and everybody just puts away all other differences, all other things that are going on, and is like, we have to solve this problem, and we are not going to fail. And it's just a great story, a true story about doing that, of having leadership and having teamwork, and everybody working together. Although I have a confession to make. I don't think we landed on the moon. This is all fake, and so.
Well, these guys sure didn't. Spoilers.
Yeah.
They were supposed to, and they didn't. And how heartbreaking that's got to be.
Yeah, when we come up on that scene with Tom Hanks, and he's like, "This is all that I wanted," and he's so close. I think how close were they? I mean, was it 8 miles away?
Something like that, yeah.
And he's just like so close and yet so far. And
I mean, if nothing else, they can at least say that they saw the moon in a way that only a handful of people in history have. Because unless you've been up and orbited the moon, you have not seen the other side of the moon. Yep. One side always faces us.
Yeah. And I really wish that we would someday get back there and start doing stuff on the moon. I think that there's so many scientific experiments that we could be doing on the moon.
Where's my moon base?
Yeah.
Where's
from what I've heard, there's some very, very serious plans for it. I mean, honestly, it makes a whole lot more sense to get a base on the moon than one on Mars. It really does.
Yeah.
And I think what you're going to be seeing in the next couple decades is, I think, returning to the moon and starting to work on mining operations there.
Yeah, I think I would love to have a permanent telescope on the moon that
I'm down for that.
Look further and more clear than we've ever seen to the ends of the universe. I would love to see that within my lifetime.
You know what would be really smart would be to get us a moon base, right? And then from that base, build a telescope on the far side of the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, once you can get it so that the sun is behind you and you're not, it's not.
Honestly, I think
that's what you want.
I think that's going to be happening a lot faster than we think it is, because there's technologies that I see happening that are going to really help us with that. The ability to craft, to, this 3D printing type, technology that we have. That's what we need to do. We need to get something up there that can take raw materials and just start punching out, whatever materials it is we'll need to build whatever it is we want up there.
Yeah. Well, all I know is that from the cartoons and movies I watched as a kid, I was promised a flying car and a lightsaber, and I have neither of those yet.
Well, Every time someone says the thing about the flying car, I always say, think about it for a second. We got people that can't even drive in 2 dimensions, and you want them flying over your house?
That's true.
The fact is we have the technology. We just don't want people doing that.
Well, 9-year-old Zootopia would squeal in delight at a flying car. So
the only way I see it happening is first we need to get the driverless cars. Once we have AI controlling the cars, then maybe we could have AIs controlling flying cars.
Yeah. I think that, all of the stuff that we grew up watching on Star Trek and everything. I mean, it's coming true, and sometimes faster than we even know how to deal with it. But I kind of look forward to that world.
Some of it, not so much. Like I said, I'm not sure about that flying car, no matter what. But
I'm starting to get a little bit. I kind of have a tenet that I kind of espouse, where I say people who get power, it doesn't make you don't get power and become a better person. All it does is reveal who you are.
True.
I'm starting to feel like technology isn't making us, and information isn't making us better. It's revealing who we are.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think that's a great point.
That's a deep conversation for tonight.
It's just we have more of an ability to know what each other are thinking around the world than we've ever had. And it turns out some of the things that people are saying I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Although, getting to know you guys has been a pleasure too.
I think, though, and bringing it back to what we're going to be focusing on tonight, we have to look at the technology that we have today and think about the technology that we're going to be looking at. The technology that got us to the moon, in this case, got us around the moon and back safely when there was no reasonable, logical reason for them to have been able to make it.
Yep.
We don't need the computing power that we have. We're wasting it, really. And I think you're going to... I'm assuming that they get into those elements of it. I think we're going to have some commentary there on that.
Yeah.
Well, let me welcome the chat, and then we'll start the film.
Sure.
Netters Network. Hello, Netters. How are you tonight? Melissa Harrison Jake. Hello. How are you and Jake doing? Big Al. Big Al Presents. Yep. Zootopia's chatting too. And Rebecca Martins. How are you?
She likes your jacket.
She does. I hope so. I bought it for Boston, so I'll be wearing it in Boston. And that's everyone in the chat.
And Big Al says that he's suddenly got a desire to listen to Pink Floyd. I thought that too, as I said something about the dark side of the moon.
Well, let's get this film started because it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And my phone battery does not like to last very long.
Are we going right from the opening of the Universal logo?
Yes.
Okay.
Y'all ready?
Yep.
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, play.
And here comes the Universal.
Yep.
Coming around the...
There was something that always kind of bothered me about this logo, and then I realized what it was. Earth has no atmosphere.
Yeah, I suppose... it's kind of like that would be bad for us.
Yeah.
I always imagined that if we ever lost atmosphere, it'd be kind of like a balloon popping and all the air just kind of rushing out.
It would probably be more like Mars. It would just kind of, trickle away.
Now, this trumpet you hear is Tim Morrison, who was the principal trumpet, who did solo work on JFK, Nixon, and Born on the 4th of July with John Williams.
That makes sense, yeah.
And growing up, I really wanted to be an astronaut. I used to have my mom get me Tang.
Oh Lord,
this was hard tragic.
So is this the first time that you're seeing this, Troy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they use a lot of archival footage in a few places. Although I will be interested in your take on when they do the space launch, because there is no footage from the actual launch in there. That's all done with practical effects.
Well, as per usual, the women's hairstyles are on point. There's a couple other things that are pretty on point, but we won't talk about that.
Well, and I mean, this is just an all-star cast, and I really get the feeling. I mean, when you watch this was a labor of love by Ron Howard and Tom Hanks and Gary Sinise and Ed Harris, and I think that these are the people that they grew up watching when they were 9 and 10 years old.
Yeah,
they are just happy as anything to be able to play them 30 years later.
Well, I feel too like Ron Howard comes out of the Steven Spielberg school of, historic films. Do your research, make sure you got it on point,
Yeah. And
now look at that. Look at that. They've literally redone the time cover to make it be the actors. That's a cool little detail.
Yeah. That was one of the things that like Tom Hanks was the major driving force for getting an Apollo 13 movie made. I mean, he had wanted to do it, and it wasn't until Jim Lovell wrote a book on it that Hollywood kind of got interested in. But Tom Hanks really wanted to make sure. He's like, everything's got to be perfect, everything's got to be true, everything's got to be accurate, and everything I read, it was that except for a few details, this thing is about as accurate as any movie ever made.
And this is a story that, I mean, there are a lot of stories throughout history that all you got to do is take it, put it on screen, because the story just writes itself. It's dramatic enough in and of itself.
Yeah. And this is the story, kind of story that has those mini arcs inside of it of, something goes right, then something goes wrong, and they got to fix it, and then something else goes wrong, and just kind of.
And you're almost underselling it when you say, and they fix it, because they end up fixing it, whatever it is, in some very unorthodox way that just has no business working.
Yeah. And just everyone, I love Ed Harris in this, and how he just motivates everyone that we're not going to fail, and we're going to do this, and we're going to bring everybody home. And
well, the interviews,
that's what we need more of.
The interviews they did afterwards, it was, they asked them, there had to have been a point where you started to think, what's going to happen to my family if we don't make it back? And no, we never did. We never thought that way because we were focused on what we were doing. If we started thinking that way, that's what could have happened. So until it actually happened, we weren't going to think about it.
Yeah. And that's a good lesson in problem solving. And also it kind of lets you know what journalists and all of them think. I mean, they want to talk about the emotion, but when you're talking about getting something done, you got to take the emotion out of it. And feelings are not your friends at that time.
Nope.
You need to be focused and clear on how to get stuff done.
And that's the thing that I find so amazing when I listen to the archival footage, the communication from them down to the ground and back. Everyone you would expect to have been on high alert, kind of freaking out a little bit, and it's all just, we got a problem here. What are you seeing? This is what we see. And it's like, wow. I mean, just so professional.
Yeah. And it's the person who plays Tom Hanks' wife here, Kathleen Quinlan. She was nominated for an Oscar for this.
She was. Ed Harris got nominated as Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah.
It got Best Screenplay, Art Direction, Film Editing, which it won, Score for James Horner, Sound Mixing, which it won, and Visual Effects.
Yep. Should have won Best Picture. I forget what did win. Braveheart. But if you told me that this won over Braveheart, it wouldn't have surprised me.
And one thing I do have to say, the real Marion Lovell, she was the one who had a bad feeling when no one else did, and yet in every interview she says, yet I had absolute 100% certainty he was coming back.
That's great to have that kind of, to believe in that. And this is also a testament that of people who are at the top of their game.
Yeah.
And of what happens when those people who know what they're doing can get together and be able to problem solve like that. So
yeah.
The absolute best of the best went to go work for NASA.
Yeah.
And that was a big, it was a big thing because of competition. They wanted to beat the Russians, and so you got these people who believed in something. They didn't just work for NASA for the money. They were doing it because they believed in it, and they saw results. And you get to the moon in what, 8 years after the call.
Yeah,
and you see these. When you get people together and you show them the results of what they're doing, that's really important to be able to communicate results in any sort of team exercise or leadership. Say, this is how if we work together, we're going to accomplish something.
Look at this. How is this even possible? Don't tell me it's CGI.
No.
Well, it's probably got to be, or something like it.
Well, no, what was this? 98, 97, 98?
96.
96?
Came out in 96, so they were making it 94, 95.
95. So this was just barely after Terminator 2.
Yeah.
So, that was the first generation of kind of those digital effects. 96, Jurassic Park, that was that the same year, or was Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park was 93.
93?
Yep.
So this isn't that long after it. A lot of the stuff is practical effects.
Going back to the family situation, I saw an interview with his kids. It was years after this. They were adults, and one of the girls said that she said that the worst part was like being in school and her friends coming up to her and saying, like kids do because they just have no sense, I'm really sorry that your dad's going to die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my gosh, can you imagine if this was now, in the internet age?
Oh, geez. You would have people attacking those kids. And I would say for the most part, it's kids don't realize what they're saying, not, they're trying to be mean to somebody.
Does Tom Cruise just look exceptionally young here to anybody besides me?
He looks non-existent because that's Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. I'm
sorry. Yeah, he does.
Does.
No, you're absolutely right. He does. I'm just messing with you. I'm sorry. I couldn't let that go.
I was trying to work out a joke myself, so I was.
I like that. He's like, sure. No. Whoops, sorry. Listen to your mother. Yeah, every indication that I had was that they were just a great couple.
Well, they even mentioned, I think, that Jack was the first bachelor in space.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of these people they grew up around them and their families grew up around each other because obviously
Yeah.
everybody lived on the same base.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It always helps. I think when you have husbands and wives who are all kind of going through the same thing, and especially when this was dangerous work.
Yeah.
You have everybody there who kind of is able to pull together and support each other. That's always good too.
Whoosh.
I don't know if y'all have ever been in the Space Center, but it's like right down the road from me. If y'all ever come to town and visit, I'll take y'all. But they've got mock-ups of these in the Space Center. And that little thing they're sitting in right there, you can climb in one. It is not comfortable at all.
Oh, I would imagine not.
It is so cramped. And it's not soft and cushiony either. It's just steel.
I still would give my right arm to go up and do that.
Oh yeah, I'd still go tomorrow. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But
oh, right. It was
they're
German measles, wasn't it?
they're not comfortable accommodations at all.
Yeah, I don't think comfort was the number one issue on their mind.
It's true.
Now, I did read when they first started doing these missions, they designed them without any windows, and so it had been going up in a submarine.
Yeah.
The astronauts basically said, "We will not go up there if we can't look out of a window." It's like you do what you need. You NASA engineers do what you need to do, but you will allow us to be able to look because there's no reason to go up there and not be able to look. And so they did. They redesigned it and they put windows in there.
And that is why it's absolutely crucial here.
Yeah. And then, this type of scene is probably, you could have cut it out and it wouldn't have lost anything, but you get the emotion of what families are thinking about and what they're worried about happening. And
yeah.
I think it is important to include something like this.
Well, for the audience, you need to know what they know. And what they know is they're literally floating in a tin can, to borrow the phrase. And just on the other side of that sheet metal is death.
Yep.
Oh, Matthew Flynn Boomer is still on Wednesday nights. He has trouble coming on Tuesday nights. He has a busy schedule on something called Life. I don't know what those are, but he's got a life, and he'll be here tomorrow night. We're doing G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. Not great American cinema, but highly entertaining. So
I'll admit I liked it. I liked Rise of Cobra.
I enjoyed it for what it is, entertainment.
Yeah. I really thought Sienna Miller looked good in it.
Yes. Yes. But not as good as Rebecca Martin's, our Netters Network.
Hey, Birdman, did you say that you're near Cape Canaveral?
No, the Space and Rocket Center. It's like 5 miles that way. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they actually tested all the booster rockets here on Redstone Arsenal, probably 10 miles that way back in the day.
Because I was going to say, I was actually at Cape Canaveral back in July of '75. Got to see one of the Apollo launches.
Oh, tell me about that, Troy. Tell me about that.
I'll tell you, I saw it from across the bay. So literally what it was this little needle of light going up, right? But you could still feel it from that far away. It was amazing.
I think this, and did you ever see Space Camp?
Yeah,
I have. Yeah,
I love that movie as a kid. I probably saw that a dozen times.
And, it's odd because, Kennedy said we needed to get to space, and you sell it as like this aspirational idea. But really, you got to do it before the Russians do it, just because, you can put a nuclear missile up into orbit and drop it on us and so on and so forth. But space became so much more for generations.
Yeah.
The 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Zootopia, I'm guessing you grew up with the space shuttle like I did, and you probably remember when the Challenger blew up.
I do.
Yeah.
It was, I was in grade school.
Yeah.
And
I was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in 6th grade too. And I remember our principal, our teacher, our 6th grade teacher was also our vice principal, and our principal wheeled in a television set because, TVs weren't prevalent in all the classrooms. Wheeled it in, and we watched the footage because he told us what had happened, because our vice principal had actually applied to do that program to be what ended up being Kristen McAuliffe. He had applied for that, and he was rejected somewhere down the line, and our principal wheeled that in, and we watched that, and it was pretty upsetting.
Yeah.
Although I do also remember watching Ronald Reagan give that speech. Was that the night of or the next night, and feeling better after listening to him, where he talked about them reaching up and touching the face of God. I as a kid, I found that very comforting.
He did have a way of speaking, didn't he?
We need more of people who are able to connect with us through our better angels, the way that he did, than through fear and division and saying let's be better than the other people.
Yeah.
I think that's what the space program was all about. Human progress, reaching for the stars, making us better tomorrow. I feel like we've lost sight of that. Now, space program is just like another line on the physical budget, and it's so much more than that. You can't quantify what you've got from the space program. No way. Microwave in your house, Velcro in your shoes, your cell phone, Thank you, NASA.
Yep. By the way, there are only 2 government agencies that have ever progressed the human race through their technologies. One is NASA, and the other is the military, because the military are the ones that develop radar and things like that.
Portable radios?
Can't point to anything that another government program that does something for you that has advanced the human race in some way.
Sadly, though, the dark side of that is that what pushes us to learn and progress is war and business.
Yeah.
It's got to make us money somehow.
Yeah. Well, I would say that NASA is more of a they did it out of competition. It was competition against the Russians, but I think that part of what NASA and what something like this demonstrates are the virtues of capitalism. We want to be better. We want to be better, and we measure ourselves against someone else or something else. And to want to make something new, make something different, we need that competition to drive us. Otherwise, we get fat and lazy, and that's just the way human nature is. And there has to be a drive within us to try and get better, and that only comes through capitalism. It doesn't come through.
You're absolutely right. It's why when we were in the green room talking about putting a base on the moon, I said that I foresee us not only putting a base on the moon, but starting up a mining operation there, because you need to have a profit motive in order to put the resources in. There's got to be a promise of getting something back.
Yeah, I've had this. I had a discussion with a friend of mine who has a different political philosophy than mine, and he rails on things like the pharmaceutical industry. And he says, they have all of these medicines and things that are so expensive that could save lives. And I point out to him, I said, yeah, the top of the line, the newest one is always the most expensive, and it's always the best one. But the second best suddenly becomes the generic.
Yeah.
And so last year's top of the line number one is next year's generic that saves a lot of lives. And the reasons why we go forward is because these companies try and make money off of them. And there needs to be that component of a company making something off of their hard work. And when you take that away, innovation goes away. Innovation ends.
So he just got the message that what's his name got sick and he's got to jump in, huh?
Yeah. That's the disappointing thing, is because he actually never got sick. They thought that he was exposed to measles, and so they're like, you have two choices: either you don't go up, or you take this replacement. And so that Jim Lovell had to decide to take the replacement and tell him he couldn't go.
And just like playing devil's advocate, like on a heavenly plane here. Maybe that happened because he needed to be on Earth to figure out how to get the parachutes to open up.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. You got a great point there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that it was because Jim Lovell was able to trust him so much, and that he knew he could anticipate what Jim was thinking and what questions were going to be asked because of how much and how long they had worked together. That he was invaluable being down there on Earth and being able to talk to him.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Gary Sinise and Tom Hanks had just come off of Forrest Gump, the previous summer?
Yeah, I think that was that 93 or 94. So I think that this was probably, Gary Sinise obviously got to be known to everyone through Forrest Gump, but this was probably his second film where he's kind of, this is Gary Sinise and he's a go-to actor now. Which his personal life, I mean, I wish I could be half as good of a man as Gary Sinise is, for all the work that he's done with veterans and raised all the money and just cared so much about other people and done so much for them.
Have you seen that video where they put together all the different people thanking him?
Yeah.
I see some of the celebrity faces in there, I'm like, screw you.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about somebody who probably deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, or Congressional Medal of Honor or Medal of Freedom, it's Gary Sinise.
Fact is, the people that most deserve it are the ones that want it the least.
Yeah,
that is very true. I've often said that the people that I know who should be running for office don't. And they would be better office holders, but they don't want to do that. They don't want to have to engage in that kind of politics. But those are the type of people that are best suited to it.
Yep. So you talk about, things that just seem like they were meant to be. I mean, you can't overlook the superstitious coincidences, right? Apollo 13 taking off at 1:13 with 1313. 2 days before, and then some pretty nasty events happen on the 13th.
Yeah, it's I wonder if they kind of avoid that stuff now.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they say it in this movie, but one of the things that Lovell said that he actually said to his wife was, she said something like, why does it have to be 13? He said, well, because it comes right after 12.
Yeah.
But his point was, and he said in this interview, he said, my whole point though was, we don't think like that. We're men of science. We're men of action. Superstition is not, doesn't have a place. And honestly, the fact that they came back kind of spits in the face of all that superstition, you know?
So this is when I was rewatching it and I saw this and I said, this is the first instance of social distancing in films.
Yeah. But I mean, it's true, because once you go out, if you get sick, there's nothing you could do till you get back.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you know this, and again, I haven't been paying real close attention here, but none of the major networks carried this launch.
Yeah, they didn't. They just kind of shoved it off.
Yeah,
because in the mind of the American public, this was just, another moonshot. Okay, whatever. We've seen this, done it before.
Yeah, they're starting to get they're just starting to get bored with it, and it would be something. There wasn't anything new or different about each of the moon landings or about the moon launches. So, I get it that the public's attention kind of waned a little bit. I just wish it weren't waning enough that basically nobody really cares that we're not going back to the moon. I want to get back up there.
Yeah. I feel like as a country, we kind of lost our nerve with the Challenger.
Yeah, that was a pretty big event. I think not just for me. I think just as a kid but for the rest of the country, that it was kind of, hey, we're pushing too hard and too fast, and we're taking all of these chances when we don't need to. I was reading something. She actually did lose her ring.
Yes, she did. Although it wasn't this close to launch. It was like a couple days before.
Yeah.
She actually had the opportunity to talk to her husband about it, and she said, no, you don't do that. He does not need his mind on anything other than what he needs to do.
Well, man, I wanted to grow up and be an astronaut. I wanted to put on those suits. I wanted to wear the helmet. I wanted to be up there. I didn't have the math skills. Not an engineer. Which, by the way, do you know which school has produced more astronauts than any other? Anybody?
No.
Purdue University.
Wow, really?
Yes. The 1/3 of the all missions have included a Purdue grad.
Nice.
So they have one of the top-notch engineering school, which produced a lot of pilots, and so then those pilots then went on to serve as astronauts. So they've kept that up, and as soon as that started happening, I mean, they made sure they have almost an astronaut training program there, and so NASA recruits a lot of astronauts, or I would say pilots from Purdue who have engineering degrees and things like that. So
I don't know, man. I think this elevator ride would spook me as much as takeoff. Man. Okay, now this is a completely ridiculous minor thing, but I am going to point out one historical inaccuracy. Marilyn was with the other wives and, other, family members and whatnot. They were actually in like a little private cinema, where they could see it on a screen. They weren't outdoors. Like inside the building here, just, I don't know, like 100 feet from where these guys would be sitting.
This is probably like the standout piece of the score. This is called The Launch from the original soundtrack release. It's like 9 minutes long. On the original soundtrack, it was 78 minutes. It had 7 pieces from the score and 8 songs on it. And it had the most unforgivable sin in my mind. They put movie dialogue in with the score bits. Which I can't stand that. Anyways, 2 years ago, Entrada, God bless them, released the complete score on CD soundtrack. And it's still available for $29.99 at entrada.com. So.
It's also amazing as you watch this, all the people who smoke.
Yep. I mean, and that was absolutely accurate. They said that the place literally smelled like cigarette smoke and burnt coffee. Yeah. Specifically burnt coffee because they had a pot that boiled over. And that was Clint Howard, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's in this quite a bit. Before his true breakout role in Austin Powers.
Yes, right.
Is that a Corvette?
That is, yes. I mean, it's a Stingray. I'm just not sure what year it is. It's obviously... It's got to be 69?
But you got to figure all of these guys are pilots and engineers, and they all appreciate a good car, especially when you can go fast. Actually, I'm surprised more pilots and astronauts don't end up driving for NASA, or I'm sorry, NASCAR
or F1.
Yeah, they probably make good race car drivers. So yeah, Troy, I'd like your opinion on what you think about the filming of the launch here.
I will say this sounded amazing in the theater with the sound system they had. Yes, Netters Network. His wife made him a waistcoat for every mission.
With the mission patch sewn on it, I believe.
Hello, Alistair. Says most pilots find their way to superbike racing. Okay.
No.
That sounds maybe a bit more dangerous.
Wow.
Yeah, this was amazing in theater, Troy. I'm sorry you missed it. It was.
Only they didn't have the music to go along with it when they were watching it.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Wow.
Yeah, you come to town, Troy. I'll take you out to Space Center. We've got one of those rockets at the Space Center, and it's not small.
No,
I'd love to see that stuff. That'd be great. I'm always interested in seeing that. Or I remember I went to the Smithsonian and saw Spirit of St. Louis and all that stuff out there, and that stuff just to see that piece of history, and to be able to look at it up close is just always a pleasure. That, by the way, has got to be one of the scariest things to see as you're watching that.
Yeah.
You're going up in one of those things. You don't want a blinking light. You want them all just nice, solid colors.
Well, gentlemen, the bottom fell out of the sky where I'm at tonight.
Is it starting to rain?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to start raining here. I think it's probably another half hour or so. We had a high of 87 today, and I think it's a high of 78 tomorrow. So we're getting a lot of rain.
Rebecca, is Jackson and Sarah watching this tonight too? That would be cool if they are. Hello, Jackson and Sarah. Do your homework. But keep watching.
We need the views.
Speaking of views, oh my lord, my Basic Instinct rewatch. Guess where that's at?
No idea.
Over 2,500.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love the way Gary Sinise plays it. And yeah, I'm sure Manningly probably was pretty bummed, but you know what? He's going up on 16, so.
Yeah, he didn't know that, though.
Yeah, he didn't know that at the time.
But I do like Gary Sinise as an actor. He has a sincerity about him.
Yeah.
That,
That's a good word for Gary Sinise. He does have sincerity about him.
and Tom Hanks has that too, but I think that when you combine that with everybody in this film, just as I said, it does seem like a labor of love from all of them. That they just, if you probably had to offer them no money to do this, they probably still would have done it.
Now, I know that in the 60s, they used to train in water tanks. Did they do the vomit comet back then too?
I don't know if they had that back then. I remember when I was looking at stuff for the film that Tom Hanks and all of them did it, and they logged in. Actually, while doing the filming for this, they logged in more hours on the Vomit Comet than actual astronauts did. It was like they did 600 jumps or leaps, parabolas for it. So I remember that, but I don't know if they did it back then. I would imagine that they had the technology to do it.
Yeah, makes sense.
I would imagine all the pilots from World War II at one point in time felt weightless.
Oh, sure. Anytime you've had to deal with an engine stall, you're in free fall.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And they were probably in, when all of this stuff went down, probably in one of the worst positions for the timing of when it happened. Just being just far enough away that they had to continue on going around, and just not being able to having to make that choice.
Yep.
So what did Troy? What'd you think of the practical?
I thought it was brilliant, and I'm still blown away not being able to. Usually on a lot of these effects shots, I can tell, well, that's CG, that's model work, that's whatever. I could not tell. It looks so much like a real launch.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what you want, right? Just like when you go to see a magician, even when you know how the trick is done, if you can't see it, you're like, well, now I'm not so sure how it's done.
Yeah. Actually, I watched Jurassic Park the other day. You can't tell.
Yeah.
You can't tell between the animatronic and the CGI. I mean, I know from watching how it's made where it happens, but you can't tell.
After seeing Jurassic Park, I turned to the buddy I saw it with and I said, the only thing I want to know is where'd they get the dinosaurs from for this movie? Somebody was walking by, looked at me like I was nuts.
I think that is a good practical question.
Come on, rookie, park that thing.
And this is the type of thing that you don't realize. I mean, you think you go up there and then you just kind of fly and float around, but there's actually work that needs to be done.
Oh yeah, you're going up there for a darn good reason.
And they're precision things that need to be done.
Yep.
That you need expertly trained people to do it. And the danger doesn't just come during the takeoff and landing. It's everything in between too.
Yep.
So, what's the actor's name? Not Tom Hanks.
Bill Paxton?
Yeah, Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
So, killed by a Terminator, Predator, an alien, end up in space.
Yeah.
I would hate going to the bathroom like that. I think that would be kind of irritating.
Yeah. I don't think it was until I saw this that I realized, oh, they dump it out.
Yep. Now, that's obviously they're not at this point yet, but later on, they're not going to be able to do that anymore because when they're floating and they're trying to conserve fuel, they're trying to conserve energy. If they were to jettison the urine like that, it would start setting them off course. It's like a jet effect.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, this is what you were talking about earlier, Troy, is that they do all this stuff and they think that they're being on air and then nobody's even watching them anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so they did put her in the viewing room. Okay.
Oh.
That's right. Somebody did say that they were watching the ball game in the control room.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I'm always two minds about it as far as when they're doing historical events. Do you get actors that look like the person? I mean, if you're doing something on Nixon, do you get somebody who looks like Nixon, or do you get somebody that kind of embodies?
Yeah. See, I think that's what you really go for. If they look too much like him, it can be distracting, especially when it's a big name star.
Yeah. Because Tom Hanks didn't look anything like Jim Lovell, but
no, not really.
His performance,
yeah,
I didn't question it.
But how do you, as an actor, pretend to be an astronaut if you've never been an astronaut, though?
Yeah, this is not real representation of astronauts.
That's right. And so I think we should turn this off and boycott the film.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, Rebecca Martin's daughter wants to know, how do little girls use the bathroom in space? I would imagine there's an adapter that somehow adapts for woman part.
Yes, there is.
Okay, and we'll just leave it at that. You can Google the rest.
And of course, Sarah, if you'd like to know about some female astronauts, you can look up Janice Voss, VOSS, or Beth Moses, 2 female astronauts who went to Purdue University, and learn about some of their exploits. So feel free to Google some of that and learn about them.
Now, I'm not sure how accurate a lot of this, you saw the guy get sick. They were messing around with the juice. They've got tools flying around. I don't know about back then, but I know now you don't let stuff go flying around like that.
Yeah.
Because you can lose track of things, it can bump into equipment, cause a short, especially liquids.
Yeah. But of course, this is where doing this on the vomit comet. You can do it here, and this is all part of those 600 times that they had to do that. So because they could only film in 25-second intervals.
Yeah, think about that. I mean, you always want to get a shot in as few takes as possible, but when it's something like this, you want to be as spot on as possible, because it takes a while, because they gotta get back to altitude again, reset.
Yeah, so I mean, it goes up and goes down, and they have 25 seconds to film, and they only had the 3 actors, and then Ron Howard had a camera. So they could only have 4 people in there as they did that.
Oh, was Ron Howard himself actually doing the filming?
Yep.
Wow.
Cedric Moss, welcome again. Thank you for dropping by. Give us a little information about you. I know everyone else on the stream, but I still don't know you. So, I mean, if you're comfortable, just like where you're from or what your interests are or how you found the stream. And good to have you. Thank you for coming by.
I like they've got the badges or whatever for each one of the missions before it. Here we go. Agitating the oxygen. This is what caused the explosion. That's actually pretty accurate for what the equipment looked like too. Yeah, this is what's interesting. They would not have known that the side had blown out like that. Well, at least not until separation later on.
There you go. Famous line.
The original line was, Houston, we've had a problem.
Horner's kind of reusing some of his sneakers film score right here. But I'm okay with it because he does a good job of it.
Yeah, Houston, you have a problem though. Sounds better.
Yeah.
More. So I'm okay if history changes. Just like Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
His quote got cut off, and and change too.
It did. You're absolutely right.
Neil Armstrong, another graduate of Purdue University. I did get to hear Jim Lovell. He came to my college when I was it was either my freshman or sophomore year and gave a talk. So he came and gave a talk in the big auditorium, and you know, most kids were there, and it was just really cool to be able to see and meet somebody who'd been up in space.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, Jim Lovell and most of the astronauts were just good stand-up guys.
No, that's not necessarily true. And that is what the going theory was at the time, that if they got hit by a meteor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get hit by a micrometeor, and it could have actually caused this exact damage, in fact.
Well, and they talk about it at the end of the film, but it was one of the wires was produced incorrectly, and it had literally been in there the entire time, and was going to fail.
What happened was, at some point, they had to agitate the oxygen. It's just standard operating procedure. You have to do that. And once they flipped that switch, it caused an arc in an exposed wire, and boom, blew out the side of it.
And this is, I mean, I think that if this were being written today and it was not a true story, they would have everybody panicking. They would have everybody running around. What do we do? But this is not only
Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
But this is more accurate to real life, but also more a better representation of what should happen.
Yes.
When you have problems and how you handle them.
Little bit of controlled chaos. Everybody's got to keep their heads.
Yep. And Ed Harris just corralling everybody in, saying, "Hey guys, we got it. You know, I know something's going on, but we got a problem. Focus. These guys' lives depend on it. Let's get to work."
Yep. Although that's probably the kind of thing that he didn't even need to say back then. Those guys were professionals, and they all knew it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love when they're problem solving a little bit later. You know, some people are arguing, but everybody is that's their job, and they're doing it well. And when you bring people together who are at the know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, everybody listens to each other, and because you trust each other and you've been working together for a long time, and you know that person is excellent at their job, and so you want to hear what they say. So there isn't somebody who's like, no, everybody just shut up and do what I say. That's not a good way to be a leader. I keep wanting Clint Howard to talk about Big Boy and how it's how it's a great restaurant, and they've always had high quality food.
Yeah.
And by the way, Ed Harris is being a good leader, that when you trust your people and you know that they're good at their job, even when it's something you don't want to hear, you take it seriously.
Yep.
I always love my personal, I think the best leader of the 20th century was General George Marshall. Just the tremendous job he did in World War II. And there's a story about him when he was a lieutenant back in World War I, and he had to report to General Pershing, who's leading World War I troops. He was the head of our troops in World War I. And at one point, George Marshall was briefing General Pershing, and General Pershing wasn't paying attention. And Lieutenant Marshall said, "Sir, you need to be paying attention to this. This is very important," which really could have gotten it. It should get you court-martialed, saying something like that. And they said Marshall or Pershing looked at Marshall, listened to what he said, and then walked out of the room. And the next time he showed up to the base that Marshall was on, said, "Get me George Marshall, because he's the only one that knows what's going on around this place."
Yeah.
And so that kind of jump-started George Marshall's career, was being able to look at your boss and say, "This is what's important. You need to pay attention to this."
Yeah. So I'm not sure if they've covered this or if I'm getting ahead of them, but what's very important to understand is the loss of an oxygen tank. It's not just their air for breathing. It's also their fuel for getting home. So it becomes a very serious economy of both of those things. If you can't get home, you die. If you can't breathe, you die.
Yeah, they're going to get into a lot about the lack of power and how they're going to conserve fuel to be able to get home.
And this is what he just looked out the window and you could see the mist. He said that's how they were able to verify. He said, yeah, you could see it. He said, we're venting something and we just lost oxygen, so it's got to be the oxygen tanks.
Yep, and this is also an instruction on if you want to manage people and you want to be able to be a leader, give them priorities. Give them jobs to do. Let them know how they're going to be the most helpful to find something out. And that's important too, because that also shows that the manager, the leader, knows what's going on and is involved. He's a partner in what you're doing, not just a detached person.
Right.
If you are a project manager or something, and you have 3 employees who work for you, when you have a project, you should be dividing everything up 4 ways. You're taking a part of it too.
You're being told you got 15 minutes of oxygen is a good motivator, though.
Yeah. Now, this is true. He really did do the maths himself. And then he would relay them back and say, somebody, you want to check my maths for me? Because we can't be off.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is why you can't just have anybody be an astronaut. You got to have whether they're engineers and they're pilots and they're people who have a knowledge base of all the systems and can be able not only just to have your job, but also to be able to know everybody else's job. So if something goes wrong with them, that you can cross train and be able to do their job too. But verification is, of course, you didn't have computers that would do it for you. You had to be able to do it yourself.
You mean you can't be like a 500-pound astronaut and have heart problems and not know how to do math?
Well, you can't just go, computer, please calculate whatever for me, and then, do that.
Oh, that wood paneling.
Who's that? Is that Dick Cavett? Is that what the
I
TV
think
show
so.
is?
Yeah.
And obviously he was doing jokes about it.
Oh. So he still doesn't know. Man.
I would think NASA would send people to the houses of the families to talk to them before the press got hold of this. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I don't know about this timeline because it seems...
Yeah, no, because Marilyn said that she got a call from someone at command, and she's like, what are you talking about? And they had to explain, you're gonna see it on the news, and then laid it out for her.
Yeah.
Now, the fact is, there was only so much they could tell them because they only knew so much.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like
there was absolutely no cross chatter like that.
Well,
that's got to be Hollywood drama because that never came through.
And why do you go on TV and shoot your mouth off and say stuff like that? There's only a slim margin that will get them back alive. Shut up.
Well, that's the legacy media for you. It's only gotten worse.
Yeah, there's if NASA is about facts and everything, the journalism is more and becoming more about feeling,
sensationalism, driving clicks, driving whatever it is they need. Yeah.
Speaking about driving clicks, new article came out today on the internet. It's like it lists like the top 10 film composers of all time or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't click on it, but someone posted on the soundtrack group on Facebook, and the guy that posted the article is like, I don't know who wrote this article, but they left out Miklas Rosa and Jerry Goldsmith and Elmer Bernstein. Who the hell wrote this? And of course, like everyone's just commenting on it like all day long, like 50-something comments.
Yeah.
And it's like, people who write articles sometimes don't know what they're writing about.
Yep.
Well, we've now become it's so easy to just turn on a camera or post something and get your thoughts out there and really not have to have anything to back it up with.
Well, what's funny too is most things you want to know are just a Google search away, and people don't even bother to do that. That's the worst part of it. We have so much more information available to us, and there's so much more laziness than there ever was.
So we have an abundance of knowledge, but a appalling lack of wisdom.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. And we have far too many people who want to fact check somebody else without being fact checked themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And I firmly believe it's, you don't censor people, you don't censor the false facts, you don't censor the bad things. You increase people are generally smart, and they have critical thinking skills that they know when someone is lying to them.
Yep. Not only that, you do not fact check when you already have an implicit bias.
Yeah.
Then you're not fact checking.
Nope.
Then you're just confirming your bias.
Yeah. Well, people want to fact check opinions, and let somebody have an opinion.
Okay, here we definitely have another Hollywood moment, because this is not something that needed to be explained to them. This is, them explaining to the audience.
Yep. And, you got to have those exposition scenes, because it sets up what the problem is and how, what needs to happen to go right, so that when things go wrong, you have the dramatic effect. And this is another example of good leadership skills and how you pull a team together.
Yeah.
And it's also a good scene to demonstrate why Ed Harris got an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that he just looks like a movie star.
That's a great line. I don't care what it's designed to do. I care about what it can do, because that sets the thinking, right? It's like, we're going to have to think way outside the box here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you have the problem, and you have the tools that you have, and you wish you might have had something else, but you don't, and so you deal with what you have, and that's kind of a good demonstration of working within the parameters, and but also, as you say, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, so they made the call. You could either try to come back, or you do the slingshot around. And really, slingshot around, that added, 4 or 5 days to their trip with resources they didn't have, but it was really their best shot at getting back safely.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. They were just about in the worst possible position, because they couldn't easily turn around, and going forward could cost them all their supplies.
Yeah. There's a point, like I said, later on, they were told not to jettison the urine anymore, so they started filling up plastic baggies.
Yeah.
Which meant they had to figure out what to do with that stuff. But then it started to get so cold They didn't have liquid water anymore. They couldn't eat their food, so they dehydrated. Urinating wasn't even a problem anymore after a certain point.
Well, that was how he developed that urinary tract infection too.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
And I always think about the wives and the families who just, everybody else has a job to do.
Yeah.
And everybody else at least has a purpose in that moment to say, okay, I got to get this done. And all they can do is worry and sit there and wonder what's going on. And that's harder than
I would imagine
actually having responsibilities.
Man.
All that way.
Well, at this point, there was no way they could even realize they're about to do something pretty incredible themselves. Just surviving and getting home is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. It's always the things that you aren't able to prepare for or that you don't think of that can really undo or make you work harder than you ever did before. And that was just the sort of thing that nobody had ever anticipated that they were going to have to go through that. As they say, they did simulations for everything, but they had never done simulations for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I mean, you see the pictures and stuff, and you see the video image, but there's no way anybody but a handful of guys are ever going to know what it's like to feel that regolith underneath your boots.
Yep. That that's to be among that group or class of people, that'd be really great. As I said, I just always wanted to be an astronaut and be able to do that and be able to go up in space. These guys, and just being able to get up there and go into space and be able to do that, they should be proud of themselves. And even if they didn't quite make it all the way there, they're still among the elites of everybody else on Earth. And I'm never quite certain about risk takers and people that do the sort of things, because you do have to be a risk taker to do this stuff. Is it that you have something inside of you that gives you bravery, or is it something inside of you that makes you just crazy enough to not be scared of it?
Yeah, don't know.
Have you ever seen that movie Free Solo about the mountain climber?
No.
So there's a group of mountain climbers. It's a documentary, and it's called Solo Climbing, where you basically climb the side of a mountain without a rope, and so you're got your hands and feet in there, and just one slip up and you're dead.
Yep.
And they had done studies on this one guy's brain, and that does this, and the fear center of where fear is his like electrical output was one of the lowest that they had ever seen. And
Huh.
that's what he was able to do. He didn't have fear, and so that's how he's able to do it. Failure,
Yeah.
an option.
The only time you lost an American was on the pad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He took the phone off the hook.
But yeah, it was his work on the ground, and knowing
Yep.
the crew as well as he did, that he was able to
Made a
save them.
huge difference. Yeah.
Just being able to run those simulations and knowing knowing the spacecraft is and knowing the crew. Troy, did you say what you're sipping on tonight?
I had a basically it's squirt. It's just a grapefruit soda.
Yeah, yeah, I've had squirt before.
I feel like I gotta explain what it is because it's unless you're saying something like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, not everybody even across the country, let alone around the world, might know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Have you ever had Moxie?
I've never heard. See, there you go. I've never heard of that one.
Well, it's the oldest continuous soda pop still made. But that's where they.
Oh wait, did you say Moxie with an M?
Yes.
Okay, then yes, I have heard of it.
Yeah. So that's where they have the phrase "You've got Moxie." That comes from that brand, but
Yep.
it's there's an old timey shop near where I work that sells that, and every once in a while I bravely take one of those. It does not taste very good.
Ah,
Sorry, guys. I had dog issues to deal with real fast.
oh, understood.
Yeah, the movie isn't able to really delve into it too much, but these guys didn't get any sleep, and
Yeah.
they were up for 3-4 days straight trying to solve this problem, and and a lot of times, especially when they're making their way back to Earth, it takes several days, and it's all hurry up and wait,
Yep.
and that can be almost as frustrating as actually trying to fix the problem.
Exactly.
I mean, in a situation like this, you're not just like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. Time to go home. See you tomorrow. You just don't,
Right.
just don't do that.
See you tomorrow, guys.
Yeah. Now this is another huge blunder. The fact that you don't have compatibility between two different modules. They learned a valuable lesson here.
Yeah. Like, hey, let's try to standardize the shape on some of this stuff.
Exactly.
I do kind of wish that they would bring back the space shuttle. I always kind of liked the design of that and the way it looked, and I understand why they took it away, but I always liked the look and shape of those things. And more scenes of the parasitic press.
Yep. But that's kind of the way it's always been. I mean, I remember watching shows as a kid, and it was even a plot point in some of these stories, Heck, I remember my mom talking about going to Chucky English's funeral and all the press that was there, not to mention the feds. Just feeling like, what parasites,
Well, Melissa Harris, I'm glad you're enjoying listening to us. It's always I like the streams where we're doing a feel good movie and you like the people that are involved, and you're able to talk about the aspirational aspects of a movie. I mean, all the problem solving that's going on, but at the end it's a feel good movie. So
yeah,
we're talking a lot about hey, this is how you problem solve, and you use facts and everything, but in the end it's also a feel good story.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a payoff to all this, right? I mean, no big spoiler for an event that happened, almost 60 years ago, but they make it.
God, it's been that long. Oh,
I know, right?
Well,
no, wait a minute. Let me see. I was born in 71, so I'm 50. So, okay, so 51, 52 years.
Well, I'm always reminded about what Roger Ebert said about movies. It's not what they're about; it's how they're about it.
Yep.
And this is the story. This is the kind of story that lends itself to be in a movie.
I'll tell you something else. Especially as we're looking at all the stupid talk about Dune and other things coming up. Every time you hear someone say something about fixing or changing or updating for a modern audience, you tell them no. If you have to do that, you're doing it wrong.
Absolutely.
Because these stories are timeless.
Yep. Yeah. I always go back to Peter Jackson when he was making The Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
And an interview where he I think they asked him something along that lines, and he said, I am not telling my story.
Yep.
I am telling the story of Lord of the Rings. And
Yep.
if I don't agree with the story point, I don't get to change it.
Yep.
And this is not his vision. He's bringing someone else's vision to life, and that's what he was trying to do.
That's the key, right? Because, the how you tell the story, that's you. You're the cinematic guy, you're the director, you're framing the pictures and whatnot, but the story is not yours.
Yeah. It is. I can't tell you how upsetting it has been to watch what Amazon is trying to do with Lord of the Rings, and when they start talking about saying that it's not really a Christian story and things like that, it just sets me off, because that's exactly what he was trying to do.
And that's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, well, Tolkien would be really surprised to hear that.
Yeah, exactly. And it would sort of like change Apollo 13 and where they don't make it home.
Yeah. I was saying in one of my recent streams, I got into a little bit of a debate on Nerd Cookie's channel about the comments about Dune, and I basically said, look, I'm not going any farther with this. This was asked and answered 60 years ago by Frank Herbert. Okay, the fact that I even have to repeat it means you're a dumbass.
Yeah. Yeah, I Dune is one of my two favorite science fiction novels of all time, and uh, if I were to make a story about it, I would want that story to be on screen.
Yeah.
I don't set out to say, okay, boy, I love this story. Here's how I want to change it. I don't want to change it. I want to see it on screen. And I don't know what to believe yet about the film Dune coming out. I just hope I hope it's good.
Amazing.
Well,
Yes.
we can talk about it a little bit more after the stream in the green
Yeah.
room because I was just telling him beforehand. The guy Andre from Midnight's Edge is seeing it, so I've already heard some things. I don't think this conversation ever happened. This is again some Hollywood drama here
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they said they never argued or raised their voices.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Jim Lovell said that was one of the things where they were like, yeah, that's a little bit of dramatic license that they take. And I get
Even
it.
as much of a historical purist as I am, I have a hard time condemning that though because it is a movie. You do need to convey the emotion that these guys in reality didn't show, you know?
Yeah. So if they didn't show emotion, if they didn't have this, I think it might be a fair criticism to say, well, it was a little bit boring because nobody really
Yeah.
did anything.
Yeah,
And,
that's true.
yeah. But they didn't that you need that to feel the gravity of the situation, and they're right.
But the fact is nobody ever blamed Swigert for flipping the switch. They all knew it was 100% what he was supposed to do, and it was a routine. It was a routine thing that he did.
Yeah.
It's not like he flipped the switch wrong or something. I mean, if you're going to place any blame, it would be on, whoever wired it, whoever, didn't have it insulated correctly, or maybe it's the whole design of the electrical work inside that tank.
And it's odd how something so small can cause so much trouble.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's nobody ascribing any blame because why bother? It doesn't matter who's at fault. The problem exists. We must now fix it.
Yeah.
And all of our brain power needs to go to that. He's not wrong.
Well, and it's always kind of funny to see. Have you guys ever watched like a NASA press conference with a spokesman? They're always answered like an engineer would answer a question. Yes, no. Here are the facts. Here's what's going on.
Yep.
And then you go to any other government agency and they're like, oh, we got to feel our way around this problem, and it's like, nope, that's not the way they work.
Yeah, that's not how. Yeah.
I've always admired the mindset of an engineer because they are. I mean, they're always looking to how to solve a problem, and it doesn't matter how big or small it is. I mean, it could be how do I pass the salt from one end to the table to the other in the most efficient way.
Yeah.
They're always just looking at something and trying to figure out how to make it better.
Something that's interesting here is I knew what they needed to do, but I never saw the jury rigging of that filter before.
Uh-huh.
This is the first time I've ever been able to visualize it. I did know that they had to use plastic and a piece of a flight manual, but now I've seen how it was used and why. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I also like that part where Tom Hanks has to go, I think I see where you're going with this, because you can do it on Earth and this is how we're doing it, but then you have to explain the steps to somebody who doesn't know what they're building a puzzle without having
the picture in front of them. Yeah,
exactly. Which I would imagine that was a really big, huge relief when all of a sudden that thing started working. And
yeah. I'll tell you what, though, it was a little while before they knew for sure it was working. It's not like we're running out of air. We're running out of air. They turn on. I can breathe.
But it's always nice to have a little win in between.
Yeah.
What's going on? Because at this point, I mean, they still don't know if their overall plan is going to work.
Yeah.
And as we find out in a little bit, they're not even sure if they're going to be able to land or not once they get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the heat shield's busted. Yours is kind of it.
Now, see, my thought right there would have been, well, the CO2 gauge just went out. Don't know if that means the CO2 is going down or the light bulb burned down at this point. Could be either with our luck.
Yeah, actually, I hope the CO2 light probably doesn't come on very often. They probably had to. We're hoping that it worked accurately. And just that's Gary Sinise. That was over and over again trying to help out and do stuff for people, and trying to bring them home safe.
Well, I mean, you got to think of it from Ken's point of view, right? If things had gone differently, I'd be the one up there. Since I'm not, I still have a responsibility to this mission.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't look it up. Was his mom still around? And I don't know how accurate this was with her being.
Honestly, I don't know. That's not something that I ever looked into.
Oh, that might be a follow-up thing.
Wow. Huh.
I'll say this about older people. They always seem to have better faith than the younger people.
It's because they have, they're maxing out on the wisdom scale.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's basically it. You got all this condensation, but now it's freezing.
Yeah, they said it was getting pretty cold in there. I forget what they said the temperature was getting down to.
Lovell in an interview said that it was equivalent to the inside of a refrigerator.
Yeah.
So we're probably talking just a little bit above freezing.
Yeah, I don't know if if I were up there, I don't know if I'd been able to do any kind of sleep.
If
I
this
heard
ever
that.
happened, I'm unaware of it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa Harris, for posting this on other stuff. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think this was Birdman's intention was to try and have some uplifting stuff to watch and talk about while we're going through some real world tough stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking about that, it's hard to wake up and not just start watching the news and it's just like craps all over your day at like 5 a.m. It's like, no, I can't do this. Like no news till like 9 a.m.
Honestly, I can't even fathom the news anymore. I hear stuff and it's like the world really has become The Onion, or Babylon Bee or something. I can't even tell when it's a joke and when it's not. When you got San Francisco paying criminals not to shoot people,
Can I get one of those jobs? I'm real good at not shooting people. I've never done it, so
you've got the president saying you don't need weapons to protect yourself from the government, because if you did, you'd need F-16s and stuff like that. And then we leave behind Black Hawk helicopters in Afghanistan. It's like, my God.
Well, hey, the Taliban was using thrown away infield rifles from the British for years.
Yep.
And they did very well against the Russians.
Well, I'm getting a little tired of celebrities or so-called celebrities telling me that that I need to not have my freedom anymore.
Yeah.
They're telling me to go screw my freedom.
Especially the ones that came to this country for that freedom.
Yeah. It's always nice when you have a couple $100 million in the bank to be able to fall back on, but not everybody has that.
You don't have a couple $100 million in the bank?
Yeah. I'll tell you, when he said that, I was like, you know what? Go back to Austria, black penis.
Yeah. I would imagine that 1978 Arnold would not agree with 2021.
No, I agree.
And would probably be a little bit upset with how he's turned out. But yeah, once you lose your freedom, it's pretty darn hard to get back.
Yep.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't. There isn't one big incident that causes that everybody says, "Oh, here's our freedom today, and now it's taken away tomorrow." It's always taken away in little itty bitty bits over a long amount of time, and people need to understand just how precious that is. And
yeah, it's like no one dies of a heart attack after eating one thing of KFC.
Right.
It don't happen.
Yeah, I don't know if that's actual archival footage of something or if that's something that they just filmed, but
yeah. So I didn't hear what they were saying, but I suspect they're probably talking about re-entry.
yes,
Yeah. So the problem is that after all that, they survive long enough to realize that they're coming in at a really bad angle. It's way too shallow, and they're literally going to bounce off the atmosphere if they don't get it just right.
yeah.
And they have to navigate literally by sight, which goes back to that whole thing about the windows you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, yeah. Good luck trying to do that without any windows.
Now this was pretty tense because they didn't know if just touching those controls might blow it all up.
And this is them dealing with the problem at hand, and once they get to the next problem, then they'll figure that one out.
Yep.
It's kind of like life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to plan out the next 10 years of your life because stuff comes up that changes those plans.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how this translated into the real world.
It was not. It was not this erratic. Again, this is drawn out a bit for drama.
Yeah.
That was a burn of way more fuel than they had. Oof. I mean, but the fact is, I'm sure it had to be very nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah. What was which film did Ron Howard win his Oscar for? Because I know it wasn't this.
A Beautiful Mind?
There you go. That's what it was, yeah. Even though I think this is the film that he deserved it on.
Yeah.
How did Braveheart beat this? I'm not knocking Braveheart because, Scotland and all, but
wasn't nearly as historically accurate.
Yeah. I think Braveheart was just kind of the feel-good movie that people wanted at that time, and this told a great story, but Braveheart had the feels in it, and everybody at the time loved Mel Gibson. Oh, that's right. I had forgotten there was the story that because while the Oscars were going on, Ron Howard and Mel Gibson were filming were doing a film together.
Oh,
it was that conspiracy theory movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And the day after the Oscars, Ron Howard and Mel Gibson walks onto the set with Ron Howard, and Ron Howard looked at Mel Gibson and said, "So you're never going to listen to me again on this film at all, are you?" And Mel Gibson goes, "Nope. I got the Oscar, so I don't have to listen to you anymore."
That's a very good story about how you need to make lemonade out of mango juice. Or
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't imagine being Fred Hayes here and having to go through all that urinary tract infection and
Yep.
kidney infection, and there's nothing you can do.
Nope.
You're literally hundreds of thousands of miles away from the nearest doctor.
Okay, now they're talking about re-entry angle. Yep. Yeah, and he said we're getting real tired up here. He said that because it was so cold, it was almost impossible to sleep. Said he'd
wow,
literally take micro naps, you know?
Yeah, it's just going from working so hard and then having nothing to do, and just
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden something goes on. You got to work real hard for a little bit, and then there's nothing to do. See, kids today just don't appreciate what it's like to travel in space.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact is, time is not a luxury they really have.
so what was it? You get over the amps, you blow a fuse. Is that what it was?
How
I
many
th-
amps?
So like 20 amps or 24?
Uh, I think that they had to get it down to like 12 or something. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Woof. Woof.
If I run my microwave, my CD player in the kitchen, and the toaster oven at the same time, it trips a
Yep.
circuit breaker.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of irony around that, right? Nope, don't have the measles. I could have gone with you. Wow.
Are you boys in the space program? That's cute.
Yeah, everybody's, you're running on coffee and fumes now.
Yep.
I had a guy in my fraternity in college try and see how long he could stay up, and he lasted about 96 hours.
Good Lord.
He said by the end, the walls looked like they were moving.
Yep.
It looked like they were waving.
I've been at that point myself.
I've done like 24 plus hours once or twice, but I don't care to do it again.
Oh.
Do you have this soundtrack, Birdman?
I do. I do not have the Entrada release. I need to buy that before it sells out, but I have the original release with the dialogue and the songs on it, which I don't care for.
Do you have a go-to place that you go to get your soundtracks, or do you just kind of hunt and peck on the internet?
I mean, Entrada, La La Land, and for Saraband for new releases that come out, and Quartet Records. And then secondary market, eBay or Discogs. I mean, back in the day, I used to go to, like Camelot or what's the other record store in the mall? Like Tape World, and there's another record store we had in the mall. But now, Best Buy's got something, but they don't have anything worth looking through. So, internet, God bless the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember going to Best Buy a few years ago, and just they used to have just rows and rows of CDs.
I know.
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's just not the way music is consumed anymore.
Remember the first time I went into Best Buy, I was in Evansville, Indiana, when I went up to look at school. And I was just like, wow. I got to go to school here just so I can come here and shop. I was like, I think I walked out, there were like 5 CDs, which was like a lot back in those days for me. Yeah. Oh. But yeah, it's like, people like who buy toys, and I'm sure Troy can back me up here, but you buy your toys, you're not getting them at Walmart and Kmart. You're just getting them offline now. You don't go to the store to buy anything because the store don't have nothing.
That's the big problem, yeah. And what's really killer is when it is a specific store exclusive and
Target,
they don't have
I'm looking at you. Walmart, I'm looking at you too. Yeah.
Yep.
Man, I used to have so much fun going to when my mom would go to Kmart, and then I would basically just plant myself in the Star Wars aisle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Just look at all the Star Wars stuff while she was off doing her shopping.
I remember in the 90s going into a store where they had all the new Power of the Force figures, and just standing there and just I got this chill. It was like They're back. They're back.
Yeah, I always knew he wouldn't be able to. My mom wouldn't be able to afford that stuff, but it was always fun to go and look at that stuff.
Now, it's at this point in reality. Oh, they're going to show it. Okay. Where they actually get to see the damage. Yep. Yep. And the only reason that they got footage of it was because he had his camera.
Did they ever recover that? Or did it just end up going into burning up in reentry or something?
It probably burned up in reentry. Yeah, because it was not in a stable orbit.
Yeah.
But it hardly matters because they would have needed to see it intact to get any info from it. That's why his footage from his camera was so valuable.
Yeah.
That's how they were able to piece together for certain what happened.
Yeah. And I do like that they have the little cameos of their characters, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, and they're sitting there taking care of Mom. Which Jim Lovell does make a cameo appearance at the end of the film here.
Oh. Yeah, Lovell said that they were literally wearing all their underwear. They had all the clothes they had, they were wearing them. Yep, he was miserable.
And this, I mean, obviously, you've been doing this for days, you've been traveling this far, and then there's still the uncertainty. Are you going to make it? Are you going to make the final mile through all this, or are you gonna die here? And that would probably, I don't know which would be worse, is dying way out there or dying so close.
Yeah, I'd prefer the not dying at all option.
I think that's always the choice, is the
right,
the not dying part.
And actually, I think that's very much in keeping with the way they were thinking. They weren't thinking, how would I prefer to die? They're just focused on, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
I think I would be praying an awful lot. Troy, I think you'd be praying too, right?
Yeah, I might.
I'm not exactly sure. I can't imagine going up there and seeing what astronauts do and then not having a belief in God.
Yeah.
I would think it'd probably be one of the most life-affirming things you could do. And I've seen all those, or not all of them, but some of the YouTube videos about just how vast space is.
Yeah.
And we haven't. I mean, just getting to the moon, we have not even barely scratched the surface of getting out there.
Well, that lunar lander actually got a much longer trip than it was intended to.
Yeah, and I don't think it was until I saw this movie that I realized that when they talk about part of that lunar lander, I mean it's only as thick as a couple of sheets of aluminum foil.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're very rinky dinky.
Of course, my largest impression of the lunar lander is from the beginning of Superman 2.
Oh yeah.
The planet Houston, Earth, the planet
Yeah.
Earth.
How devastating would it have been if they had not made it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that we would still have trauma, national trauma over that. And this might have been something that helped get NASA past the fire accident too.
Yeah.
Is being able to know that they, even when something bad happens, that they're able to learn from their mistakes and fix it. And there have been tragedies since this Apollo 13 triumph that they always, the people there who work at NASA, they do make mistakes, but generally they learn from them and do better.
Yep. That's pretty much a good summation.
But it's always people make mistakes and they can get complacent, but when those mistakes do happen, you got to learn from them. That it's a good lesson in life, not just in this movie or stuff for engineers and astronauts at NASA. I mean, everybody just you can learn from your mistakes. You can overcome your liabilities, and you can work every day to be a better person. Unless you're like Troy and are perfect already.
Yeah.
Not quite. Okay.
Yep.
So now what should be happening here is it starts to warm up, and as it starts to warm up, it's going to start to rain. Man.
So you get a nice bath after not showering for.
Kinda, yeah.
Which I'm sure made it smell even better in there.
Yeah, right?
I wouldn't care. Let's just get this down and get out. Come on.
Yeah, lots of scary moments during this whole thing, but yeah, even scarier for the family when you're watching this live on TV.
That's for sure.
long ass 3 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the part I've always. I don't like it. Just give me bad news. If it's going to be bad news, don't make me wait for it. And that's always, I don't like people when they say, "Hey, I really need to talk to you about something. Let's talk tomorrow." It's like, don't tell me that. Let's do it now.
Oof.
I don't know what is the last kind of big historical thing that's happened that where everybody's just kind of holding their breath as to what's going to happen next or something. I'm not exactly sure what that's been.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
Something that kind of plays out live on TV. Not exactly sure. Although I guess that's a good thing that we don't have those that often.
What about when the miners were trapped in that?
Oh, yeah. The Chilean miners, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure more for Chile than what it was for America. But
I think that's something that the entire world was watching. And, yeah, that had a good result. They were able to save them. And there goes the score.
Now, Houston, would this be a bad time to let you know I don't know how to swim?
Yeah, I don't know if it would be more just relief or cheering and everything, and I'm not exactly sure how I'd respond. It'd just be like, finally, it's over. And up comes the shark.
Yeah, right.
Megalodon. Dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be sitting in a classroom with my friends during all of this. I really thought that guy was David Harbour for a while.
Huh.
He does look like David Harbour. And that had to have been, I mean, that's the first other human being they've seen in 6 days or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure those guys were friends for the rest of their lives.
Oh, yeah.
They'll go through stuff like that without having an appreciation for them.
I'm like, I don't need no life vest. I'm cool.
just flown through space without a life vest.
Dude, I appreciate you guys coming to pick us up. I was just going to swim.
And this is what makes it the feel-good movie.
Yeah.
As everybody comes back safe, and America can cheer, and you can finally let your breath out and exhale. And so yeah, when Tom Hanks shakes the hand of the guy who's the captain of the boat, that's Jim Lovell.
Oh wow!
So I think he comes up on the left side of your screen whenever Tom Hanks is shaking his hand. And I always like endings where they kind of say, and this is what happens to this guy, and this is what happened. This is how this affected him, and all that. Yeah, this guy right here on the left, that's Jim Lovell.
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't have caught that because... Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. I see it now.
Go America.
Right?
Yeah. USA.
And you gotta love that too.
We'll get back there.
Everything, once the story's over, you go to the end.
Man, oh man.
I'm going to say something. I think I've never said this before in my entire life about the film. I hate the end credit music that James Horner did for this film. It feels way out of place. No. It feels like it should be like an African safari movie, not this movie. And just irks me.
All right. Well, I think you need to write an angry letter to Mr. Horner and tell him to redo it.
He has passed on, so it will not do me any good. But
well, maybe Ron Howard then.
Yeah, Ron Howard. Yeah, they brought in Annie Lennox to do this, like, woo! And I'm like, why? Why did you do this? Why did you do this, James Horner? Were you told to do this by Ron Howard? Anyways, but it's still a very excellent film, I think. It's a good, feel-good film.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this was my favorite film of, was it 95, 96, whenever this came out?
Yep.
And I'm glad you suggested we watch it because it had been a long time since I had seen it, and I don't have it on Blu-ray, so it's something I'm going to have to get. I did this one off of YouTube, so I'm going to have to get a copy of this.
Man.
Are there any? I was thinking about this. Are there any other historical events you wish that they would do a movie about?
Oh,
or people, biography of somebody.
I mean, they've done a lot of the ones I'd really like to have seen.
Yeah, I thought Steven Spielberg's Lincoln was pretty good.
That was excellent. That was a very good movie.
I mean, my mind goes to that. What do you call it? Was it HBO that did the miniseries on John Adams? Did a great job on that one.
Yeah. I've always kind of, I think, an underappreciated person that they should do that they could do a really good movie about is Ulysses S. Grant.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I think that he's a genuinely American hero who I don't think has been portrayed very well on screen. Usually it's some cameo or something, and I think that some enterprising director who wanted to do a biography, I think that would be a good one to do.
Yeah. As far as, history films that I really love, that I think they were done well, done right, is the Gods and Generals and Gettysburg.
Yeah.
You want a good Civil War film, those are pretty darn accurate.
Yep.
And I've groused about Midway too. It's like, I really wish that they'd made that into 3 different movies. I think they squeezed too much into it and, didn't do the separate parts of it justice.
Yeah. Midway is a very long and complicated story, but I think a compelling one. I mean, if it goes a different way, America is going to cede a lot of territory to Japan, and that's one of those pivotal moments in history that, even though the Japanese had a lot of advantages, they didn't use them correctly, and the United States was, they were the underdog. I mean, it's hard to imagine, but at the beginning of World War II, the United States was the underdog, especially in the Pacific. There was a lot of things that people did, like I said, George Marshall did, to get us ready and prepared for World War II, and then even after it started. And it was not an inevitability that the United States was going to beat Japan.
Yep. Did we ever have a really good film that talked about the life of the Three Stooges?
I can't think of one.
That would be a good story. That would be a good story.
Yeah, those were some interesting guys.
Like, told from the point of view of Mo Howard,
Yeah, there you go. It's always, those are the stories of people back then who, were so popular and everything, but, kind of through happenstance, kind of died penniless.
Yeah.
And, they brought a lot of laughter. To me as a kid, I loved the Three Stooges when I was a kid. So much so that my mom threatened me because I would do stuff to my brother.
Yeah.
Just kind of how everything's kind of turns them out, and they don't end up in a good place. Although this film ended in a good place.
Yeah, it did. Oh, good choice, man. This was really worth it.
Yes, thank you, Birdman. Good job.
Thank y'all. Y'all are a delight to have on for these feel-good American movies.
Yeah, I'd never seen it, and I was pleased with how it held up. It really did.
You can watch this in 20, 30, 40, 50 years and still walk away. And one being, the special effects and everything are great. The model work and but also the human element of the story works so well.
Yep, good stuff.
Well, let me sign off here, guys. But Troy, you got a show coming up Friday night?
I do. I'm going to have Sir Torrin Clegane joining myself and Aged Boomer. We'll be revisiting our plans to reimagine the DC cinematic universe and how it could have been done so much better.
Well,
excellent.
They're in desperate need of you, Troy.
Yeah, like they're listening.
Put Troy on payroll.
Yeah.
And I'll be back tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night with G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra.
That's with Aged Boomer, right?
Yeah, Zootopia. If you want to hop on that one, you're more than welcome to.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm always willing to Joe it.
Oh, Joe, my friend. I'll send you the link tomorrow night when I log on.
Sure, I'm happy to do it.
Cool. And everyone, thanks for stopping by. Leave a comment below. Adopt, don't shop. Keep listening to great film music, and keep reaching for the stars. We need to search for something better and pull ourselves up, not bring ourselves down.
Agreed.
Yep.
My words of wisdom for the night. Take care, everyone. Thank y'all so much.
Not at all.
Bye-bye.